Hello, hello. Let me know if you can hear the music in the background. Welcome to another live. So I was having some major technical difficulties. I couldn't get the microphone to work, so I don't know what happened. So I had to restart the live stream, and I don't know if this is even gonna go through or if people are gonna know that this is happening, but I decided to do it anyway because if I don't do it now, I won't do it until next week. So I'm trying to have a good schedule with everything and try to figure all of that out. So the first news, which is, it's very superficial, but I cut my own hair. And I don't think that it looks horrible. I'm sure there's some random pieces that I need to cut, but I'll have Aron do that later, hopefully, if he wants to. Yeah, so that was a few hours of my day trying to figure that out. Yeah, so today's Ash Wednesday. And I found a post about Ash Wednesday that I thought was really funny, and I just could not find it again. But it was basically, I'm gonna try one more time as I'm talking. But it was like a post about, it was a legitimate post, it wasn't a joke, but it was basically a list of, like, it was almost a graph where they placed all of the possible, like an examination of conscience before you go to confession. And it was basically like, don't forget, this is, the time of penance and everything. And, these are the things that you should be, just a reminder type of thing. Let me see if I can find it, and then I can, how would I say this? Graph of examination of conscience. But it's basically, like, I remember going through all of the sins, all of the, like, it's basically like you start off with general questions, but it's all on the same sheet. You start off with general questions. Did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? And then if you check off one of them, then it goes to a bunch of other options, and then those you look through, and then if you get one of those, then you go to the next one. And it's kind of like that, but you look at it and you're like, this is not the correct way to think and approach life. But I remember going through that. Like, there was a book that I used to use for an examination of conscience, and I mean, we're talking about like 5-6 pages of, or even more. I've seen some with like 20 if you want to do a more thorough examination. But yeah, it was funny, but I couldn't find it. Somebody posted it, and yeah, I can't. I'm just finding the one where it's all the words. It's just like a list. It's not a graph. But it really reminded me how happy I am not to be obsessed like that. I mean, of course I understand that it's good to reflect on what you've done, how you did it, like what's the foundation of it, where should you improve, where should you, like, being self-reflective, that's a very good thing. But making it like a obsession, that's the part that I don't agree with. And it's funny, the more people that find my channel and hear about my past and all the things that happen, the more they, like, their way of writing off how I talk about my past, the way that they they categorize me is they say, oh, you were just scrupulous, and that was your problem, and yep, that's it. So they just write me off as a scrupulous person. And it's funny because, going through religious training, the seminary and everything, that's something that definitely comes up, and is something that, at least where I went to the seminary, they look at. And if you are a scrupulous type of person, then they don't allow you to keep going. I mean, they allowed me to keep going even though I liked men. But I think it wasn't as black and white in that circumstance, because I was actually, like, really trying to change that And but with scrupulosity, it's more of like a problem with formation. So there's really nothing you can do within a few years to kind of change that behavior. But it's fun. One thing that I was thinking about is, you know, yeah, I made it through the seminary and everything, but, you know, the way that people were sent away from the seminary, it was very much like, how do I describe it? Like, there's something wrong with you. If you can't make it through, then there's something wrong with you. I remember getting that impression. Like something just, there's either something wrong with you, like you should go get married because you're too obsessed with sexual things, or you can't control yourself, so you should go get married. You know, you're not smart enough. That was another thing. Like, you know, it's just like in school, every semester we would get our grades and everything, and then we would be called into the principal's office and the rector of the seminary. And if you didn't do well enough, then it was kind of like, well, you either need to study harder because you have the potential, or you're just not smart enough. And then it's like, well, that's great. So, you know, little Johnny comes back from the seminary and it's like, why didn't you make it? You're such a good person. You know, well, I'm just not smart enough. It's like, what a great way to start your life. But that was, you know, it's funny to think of that. How many people left thinking like, oh, now I have to go to the second best thing, marriage, because I couldn't control myself. It's not really a great way to start life on the wrong foot. But honestly, I would have taken any sort of those types of humiliations, because it would have saved me a lot of headaches. So yeah. But I remember being worried about not making it. It's funny. In the beginning, the first few years, I was thinking about the possibility of not making it through because of something wrong with me. And then in the end, it was like, oh no, I'm actually going to make it. And then you're focused on what you lack and what you really need to work on. But I don't know. I was just thinking about that the other day. So I think this week or next week, I'm going to have an interview with an ex-priest who he is also gay and has a partner, which is interesting. Though a lot of the people that I know who had very religious backgrounds and came out as gay, like, they're not the type of people that live a more loose kind of lifestyle, I guess you could say. They're more focused on having a stable relationship and having a real relationship. But anyway, he's starting a business he's a therapist, and he wants to devote his work to helping people who have left religion, because he was telling me, I'm sure we'll talk about this more when we have the conversation. Why does it say no data? I hope everyone can hear me. Sometimes I don't understand the internet. It doesn't. Anyway, if we break up, if the connection breaks, I'm sorry. I'm trying my hardest. I've had enough technical difficulties. But anyway, so we were talking, and he said that a lot of the famous therapists who specifically who specialize in people who have left religion, they seem to be very resentful of religion, and they talk very poorly of religion. And I told him that it's probably a side effect of their own experiences in religion. If the music is too loud, just tell me, because it's at a specific volume in my headphones, but I don't know what it's like for you guys. But I said it was probably the resentment that they feel from their own experiences, and then how can they be a good therapist if they already have that type of preconceived idea going into it? And it's almost like throwing the baby out with the bathwater type of thing. Like, it's there is a immense amount of knowledge and formation that I am so grateful for from my religious past, and I don't think I would have gotten it in any other way outside of religion. And obviously it came along with a lot of other things, but I really do think that, I'm very grateful for my past, and who knows about the future. If, things will, turn around full circle or whatever they say. But right now I'm very grateful, and he wants to be more realistic like that with his practice. He doesn't want to promote any sort of ideology. And I thought, well, if he's doing that, if he's starting his business off with that type of principle, which coincides a lot with the principles that I hold with this channel, then I think that I would be more than happy to have an interview with him. We're going to focus a lot on his experiences with his past, because we've talked a lot. We've become friends, and he's told me a lot, and it's a story. Like, I'm humbled a lot listening to other people's stories and their experiences, because mine was very specific, but and private. It was very specific and private. Like, it was something that I was going through, and the priests around me, they knew what was happening, but it wasn't very public. A lot of people didn't know. And with some of these priests that I've been talking to, what they went through was pretty public, and people saw what the superiors were doing to them. I don't know. It would have been difficult for anybody. But anyway, hopefully this weekend I'll be able to film a video with him, and then I'll put it up on my channel. I'd like to do more videos where I talk to people, because having a conversation with someone, it brings out different ideas, different topics that I maybe wouldn't necessarily think of if I was on my own. Maybe I haven't covered in videos just because I didn't really think about it. But having someone else and seeing their perspective, it helps me express ideas that I just haven't thought of expressing yet. And also hearing different stories can help people in different ways, because not everyone's going to find something that they connect with in my story, which is fine. I mean, I'm not, well, anybody who's watched my channel, they know what my approach is with everything. I'm not on a pedestal telling people how to think or what happened to them or what should have happened, what they should have done or anything. But anyway, so I wanted to, so my last video that I did, if anybody watched it, was on a weird time in my past where trying to fit into the very black and white structure that was around me of what a man is and what a woman is, finding myself as a man, oh boy at that time, but as a man, but not able to fully relate to men, at the same time finding things in women, physically not a woman, but biologically not a woman, but there were things that I connected with more with women than I did with men, and especially at a time where, you know, puberty and everything, it's a difficult time, it's an emotional time, there's a lot of hormones going on, a lot of confusion, a lot of feeling uncomfortable with the changes that are happening in your body, and so all of that added on to what I was experiencing with my attraction to men and all of that, and trying to be a man, trying to imitate these men in my life, but not connecting with them. You know, looking at a lot of the news and the debates between more liberals and conservatives around the transgender issue, I sympathize so much with the people who are kind of stuck in the middle, who are trying to figure out who they are, trying to figure out what's best for them, feeling a certain way, and then being told by one side that you need to do this to be happy, and then the other side saying don't do that to be happy. And, you know, for each of those sides, it's black and white. Like, this is what you need to say. This is how you need to act if you're on our side. And then the people in the middle who don't fit into either one of those sides, you know, what do you feel the pressure of the conservatives? Maybe the person has parents or that type of structure around them, and they want to follow that, or they feel more comfortable in that, or they think that's the right way, but what they're experiencing doesn't fit into that structure. Or society at large, where it seems like if you watch videos and read articles and the movies and the TV shows, that there's a certain behavior that you should have if you're on that team. And for them, there is a behavior, there is a to be happy, you need to transition. And I know that's watering it down, because a lot of every individual commentator or journalist or YouTuber or whatever, they have nuance between them, but there's a general line, there's a general narrative. And of course, if you say anything against what they say, then you're considered anti 100% the transgenderism, or the people. You're against transgender people if you have any opinion that's outside of that narrative. Anyway, I made a video about it. I don't know if anyone saw it, but it was really awkward to make the video, because like, I realized that there was a connection that I had with all of these videos and articles that I've read, and the sympathy that I was feeling towards transgender people. And it wasn't until recently that I thought, like, oh shoot, like back in that time, in that between 10 and 13, 14, I was really confused and unable to, I was just uncomfortable with myself, in my skin, being a man but not feeling like a man, not being able to connect with my male friends when they were talking about girls, connecting more with women, just and not really knowing what to do with that. And the whole video is, would I have transitioned if that was an option for me? I'm happy I didn't, because now, you know, I'm very comfortable with who I am and being a gay man. But would I have? And I wonder how many people are kind of stuck in a situation where they think that maybe that is the option, when they're just like I was, where they just needed to get over the hump that a lot of people have to get over through puberty and everything, just trying to figure out who they are. But you know, the society just crams things into our heads that there is a certain way of behaving. And if you don't do that, then, I mean, with the transgender issue, you know, if you don't allow children to transition, then you're basically giving them a death sentence, because look at the numbers of self-harm and all of that. And I think that it's more nuanced. The argument requires people to step back emotionally from the situation and really just look at the science that we have, the like kind of meet on a level playing field, and not use it as a way of promoting your side, and not making it a question of sides, making it a question of finding out what's best for people, what's actually going to help them, what's going to give them a foundation, especially at that young, at that age, giving them solid ground to stand upon so that they can continue on with their life. So that's all I got to say about that. No, it's not all I got to say about that, because what kind of sparked this idea for me was a video that I saw from Blair White, and she's a trans woman, and she has a conservative bend politically, not in a lot of other ways. She just seems like just an individual with opinions, and people put her in boxes like they like to. But anyway, she did a video. It's called the Detransitioners of TikTok, the other side of the coin. And I think the reason why she did that was because we only hear about the transition and how happy they are, and, you know, all like trying to push the good and the good results of doing that. And for so long, there's been this other thing happening where people transition, and then they realize that the reason that they transition either doesn't exist, or they were deceived or manipulated or convinced that it would do something that it didn't do, and they detransition, which is really, like, imagine all that you have to do to transition in the first place. Imagine, not even like you got to take it individually, the changes, but also in your little social circle, that, you know, you're changing your name, who you are, how you act, or I mean, for some people, I guess they have become more comfortable and they kind of change the way they act, but it changes how other people perceive them. And the parents, how the parents are like, okay, now we're like, they have to like I don't want to say like reprogram, but like they have to set a new standard or see things differently. And then after all of that, then you're transitioning back, and then all of those, everything, because it's not just like anything in life. You do something and there's consequences, good and bad, but there are consequences. Like, you know, you don't go to the gym and you eat McDonald's every day for 6 months, and then you decide, oh no, I want to stop. It's like, well, all right, that's great. You know, it's good to make changes in your life and all of that. I'm not comparing transitioning to being unhealthy, but you made that choice, and now that you've decided to go back, great. But you have a lot of health issues now that you're going to be dealing with as you're trying to get healthy again. And similar consequences happen, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, socially, everything with someone. And now they're going backwards, and it's not even backwards, it's forwards, but you know, back trying to get back to where they were, which is impossible. You can't go back to where you were. So, but those stories are not popular. People don't hear about, I mean, I can't even imagine my family hearing one story about someone who transitioned, period, or meeting someone, just from their environment and their circle, and to hear about people transitioning and then going back, well, going forward, but going back, blows your mind. And those stories, those people who did that, they were kind of hush hush, you know, like, we're not going to promote them, we're not even going to look at them, we're not going to talk about them, because that's revealing the other side of the coin. As Blair White put in her title, she's had other videos actually interviewing detransitioners because no one else is doing that. Luckily, they're becoming more and more popular. People are more and more interested to hear their story, because I don't think people even thought about that possibility. And in fact, it's more common than people think for people to transition and then detransition. So that is Blair White's. So here's the title: Detransitioners of TikTok, the Other Side of the Coin. So we'll just look at some of this. So she's looking at different TikTok videos, but just listen to the way that she talks, how she presents the different topics, because I really appreciate, I mean, she has her personality, her internet personality, you know, she plays into that. So, you know, when you're online, a lot of people put on a character, and, you know, okay, that's fine. But just listen to the way that she talks, because it's really honest. And then we'll look at someone who is on the other side and who has criticized Blair White, and we'll see the way that they talk and kind of their approach to things, which is more personal attacks. But, well, we'll see. Let me turn down this. Oh, or I'll just turn it off completely. Hello to anybody who is new coming here. Feel free to chat if you would like. Nobody is preventing you. But maybe you're somebody who wants to remain a secret and doesn't want me to know that you're watching. But if you didn't know, I have the names of all the people watching, and I know who you are. I'm just kidding. I don't have the names. That would be funny though. I just lose all my viewers in 1 second after I say that. But feel free to chat in the chat. Okay, I'm gonna stop. All right, so I'm gonna have to cut this up because if I don't, then I will be penalized by YouTube. So I'll be stopping it every like 10-15 seconds. So if that's annoying, I'm sorry. Okay, we're gonna turn this up. Okay.
When your voice drops from taking...
Can you hear that? Can someone just write in the chat if you can hear that? I would appreciate it.
When your voice drops from taking testosterone, it doesn't go back.
I was never uncomfortable with my gender. I was uncomfortable with, I'd say, my relationships with other people.
So we're going to hear a lot of very honest, thank you. We're going to hear a lot of very honest, a lot of honest comments about, I mean, you know, I feel like on the internet, people are always talking about, oh, we need to focus on being authentic and honest and being ourselves. And, you know, and then you realize that people are just playing into different narratives just because that's how you get followers. That's how you get friends. That's how you get subscribers. That's how you feel like you're somebody. Like, what's the word that I'm trying to get? That people accept you. Not true.
You guys be there for me if I was going through something?
No. Nope. Absolutely not.
Hey guys, welcome back to my...
And Blair White is not, well, I guess that's an okay place to pause, but good. She's good. I'm just gonna go a little bit ahead.
At black and white, so I think the expectation that a topic as complicated and as intensely human as being transgender or transitioning should be black and white is ridiculous. There's currently a group on Reddit for detransitioners with 26,000 members, and
that was actually pretty important what she said. Let's go back.
It was so heavily censored. I mean, I know that oftentimes people will use this topic as sort of ammunition. Like, look, that person detransitioned. That means transitioning is always a flop. It's not true. You know, nothing in life
is black and white, she's going to say.
Life is ever that black and white. So I think the expectation that a topic as complicated and as intensely human as being transgender or transitioning should be black and white.
It's almost like, you know, when people look at at clouds, it's almost like their brain has to impose a shape upon it, even though it's a cloud. And, you know, it doesn't, you can say that it resembles something. I feel like that's what happens when we see people online or we hear a little bit about the story of someone. Oh, hello, Aaron. He was trying to help me earlier with my technical difficulties. Sorry again for coming in late, but better late than never. But I feel like that's what happens with people when they come across different stories. They just want to, in their head, they're not comfortable in seeing the nuance. They're not, I don't know if comfortable is the right word, but it's more difficult intellectually to take apart what you're being told and see all the nuances in it. It's a lot easier to just hear certain words or to have like an instinctual reaction to certain people and to kind of just put them in a category, and then mentally you can feel you can rest easy because you've figured it out. And so people who like I said before, who just say, oh, well, the reason why you had problems in religion is because you were scrupulous. It's like, okay, maybe they heard certain things that I said, and then they've heard the term scrupulous. Maybe they are scrupulous themselves. Maybe it was explained to them in a certain way. Who knows? But they hear certain ideas that may coincide with that other idea, and instead of trying to get a more full picture, they just say, oh, I know, stamp, this guy was scrupulous. And then now I don't have to think any longer. I don't have to worry about trying to understand because I have it. I got it. I understand. Bam. Like, how many people with Blair White here, transsexual, trans woman, how many people just automatically like, oh, she's probably pro this and liberal and blah, blah, blah. And, just from knowing that she's trans, and then, all right. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, go on with your life, do your thing. You never have to come in contact with this person because you've just labeled them as a certain way. Okay, great. But I mean, is that really a way to live and have human interactions? Because I remember in religion that there was almost this like, once you found out someone else was part of the same community, there was like this given like, oh, I can trust this person. And I feel like I was very too trusting of people, especially priests, because they're wearing the collar. So it was like an automatic judgment that I had. And I just did what they told me. Even if one priest told me one thing and another priest told me a different thing, I tried to follow both, or I tried not. It was never like that. But at one time a priest was telling me one thing, and then the next priest told me something else. So then I changed. And instead of trying to understand why or what, or ask the question like, well, this other priest told me this other thing, instead of, it was just like, no, I'm going to be obedient. Obviously it was never anything bad, just detrimental to my myself. It wasn't not to do anything evil, but I hope that explains something.
Is ridiculous. There's currently a group on
It's ridiculous. Everything I said. She agrees.
Reddit for detransitioners with 26,000 members. And that might not seem like a lot because obviously there are massive Reddit pages with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people joining them. However, I have to tell you that as someone who sought on
Okay.
people, and from my observation, this whole detransition explosion seems to be primarily among young people, primarily even further, young girls, which, go figure, it's not exactly a mystery as to why detransition would be more common in young people rather than older. When you're young, you just don't have the brain capacity to understand permanent or long-lasting decisions as well.
Yeah, that just seems so obvious to me.
As you can.
Oh, that just seems so obvious. I mean, it seems to me, in my 33 years on Earth, no, I think I noticed this even when I was in school. There's such a pressure, or there's such an exposure in school for children that they're it seems like they're growing up too soon. Like they're exposed to too much when they're younger, and like they're losing out on childhood. They're losing out on being an innocent child and enjoying life and being happy. I know that some situations are just difficult, and those children have a different way of, that was their way of growing up. But that's a particular circumstance in a particular household with particular parents in a family, whatever. But it seems like a very general type of movement where children are just growing up a lot quicker, but they're not mentally capable of taking in these huge topics at such a young age. And I mean, I was surprised. I was homeschooled from 5th grade until 12th grade. Of course, I was involved in sports and I had a lot of exposure with other kids, but I didn't go to school. But I heard, 12-year-old girls getting pregnant, all these things. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm so happy to be in the family I'm in, because I would never think about getting pregnant. That's not what I'm saying. But like, I wasn't mentally like even remotely possibly going to be in a situation like that. The far left are definitely culty. They preach tolerance and love and diversity, but they forget that when it comes to diversity of thought, like, could you imagine someone with a MAGA hat celebrating at the Pride Parade and being tolerated? I just don't care about sides, really. I look at people's ideas, and if I agree with the ideas of what they're saying, then I agree with them, but I find both sides very culty. Like, even the MAGA side, the way people talk, it's almost like as a reaction against the leftists, they almost go to another extreme, at least ideologically, like an opposite reaction to that. And it's like, why do you have to, like, just because you vote for a particular candidate or have certain ideas, like, why does it have to be the most important thing in your life? And why does it have to be the thing you talk about, and that you have to express to the people around you and only be around those? It's just they're definitely both cultish. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting, because look at what's happening in the world right now and how unstable it is. I think people here, I say here, like in the northern hemisphere, North America, like, I think we've gotten a little too comfortable. Like, we've built our lives upon what we thought was very strong, firm, stable ground, and we forget that, looking at history, there's moments of peace and calm and apparent stability, but everything is constantly in flux, and things change, and people, nations invade other nations, and there's dominance, and there's wars and everything, and there's times of crisis, and just like life, having a center and stability doesn't come from the external. I mean, if you're looking for anything in the outside, the world around you, that's going to make you feel safe, that's not it. There's nothing out there. Life, you can get sick today. you can, feel sick, go to the doctor and realize that you have cancer. And then your whole life has changed. And if your foundation was, I'm a healthy person and I don't have to worry about this and this, well, there you go. That's life. Things happen. And so where was I going with this? But, yeah, I don't remember. But just looking at the world, being comfortable. I think in the United States, especially, there's just this feeling comfortable. And especially my generation, we didn't really see anything huge until COVID, which, like, look how it turned out. And then now what's happening with Russia, it's like, okay, these are big events. I guess 9/11 was actually that was a pretty significant event in my life. But yeah, I think there's this illusion of stability, and when you feel comfortable, when you're well fed, when you don't have to worry about things, that's where these weird ideas come out, and people act weird, and they forget what's important, and they focus on what's not important, and make that the end all be all of everything. And then I hope that all of these situations that we're seeing around the world wake people up, even if it's just a few people. But if they see, like, maybe there's more important things in life than politics or anything like that. There's a lot more important things. I think in general, there's a lot of, here in Mexico, a lot of people have their feet on the ground. They're more realistic than what I remember in the States. And so they're more stable in general. No matter what happens, they kind of just get through it because they know where to focus. They know what to trust. Like, they're not under any illusion that any political party here is going to be good and not corrupt. But for some reason in the States, there's this idea that, no, this president is this or that president, this or that candidate is a very good, wholesome, honest person that's going to do so much good, that's going to sacrifice themselves to love it. And they go through this thing, and it's like, they're talking about the second coming or something, like Jesus is coming back and in the form of the president of the United States. And, it's what? Like, what? That's not how things work.
When you are an adult. So I had you guys send me detransitioner TikToks, and I did. I downloaded them. I have not watched them yet. Let's watch them together. Boom.
Would you guys be
Okay. So here we go. We're going to start some of the things.
Let's watch them together. Boom.
Would you guys be there for me if I was going through something?
No. Nope. Absolutely not.
I hope it sucks whatever you're going through.
I hope it sucks.
What the fuck?
I hope it emotionally scars you for the rest of your life.
Before we hear what she says, that is funny. It's like, if you're doing everything right, if you're saying the right things, if you're doing the right things, and it's a success, and you're uplifted, like, you're perfect. Like, look at what happened these past few years. If you're a particular race and you say a particular thing, then people put you on a pedestal because of the color of your skin, or they put you down because of the color of your skin, not because of who you are. They don't care about you. It could be you or the next person on their list. They don't care. It's not about that. If you are a good mouthpiece for them and the narrative, then you're like a saint in their eyes. They promote you like a saint. But it's just for them to have another voice. It's not you as an individual. It's just the fact that you can open your mouth and make sounds. And the sounds happen to correspond with the sounds that they want you to say. That's it.
It'd be like that, to be honest. I think that's one of the reasons why I do have such a soft spot in my heart for these detransitioners, because first of all, that's just a horrible thing to go through. How can you not have empathy as a human in general? But
yeah, I mean, empathy. All these people, they say, I care about the trans people. I care about the little kids. I care so much about them. But then from their actions and from their behavior, from what they're saying, it's like they don't. It's almost like, in religion, it's like, I care about your soul. It's like, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate it. But what are you going to do about it? Like, how are you actually going to help? What advice are you going to give? I want you to get to heaven. That's such a great thought. Thank you. I appreciate it. But what does that mean in practice? Like, I keep saying it. If you've heard this before from me, sorry. But I heard so many times in the seminary, you're going to be a part of a family, and the priority of this community is for all the priests to be taken care of, especially when you're having a difficult time, because those are the moments when it really counts to have a family and a support system around you. But in practice, what actually happens?
it's like compounded by the amount of hate they get from the community. Like, imagine going through such an extreme, what I can only assume is like an existential crisis of like, oh my God, I transitioned. I removed my breasts, my voice,
I can't even imagine what it's like for them to go through that and then have all this pressure to like just feeling like for some of these people, I was told that this was the right option, that this would make me happy.
Change my body, I'm maybe sterile, have to try to undo that, can't really undo that, right? And then on top of that, you're getting hate for it.
And now I've done it, and
I detransitioned so my family would like me. What?
Bojack, I don't like anything about me.
Oh. I don't know if this music is gonna make me get copyrighted.
Common threads that I have noticed from detransition stories, and keep in mind, I'm not just talking about stories that I read or listen to online from these people. These people reach out to me because I am one of.
Yeah. I can relate. A lot of people reach out to me in private who are going through a difficult time in religion. Like, I have priests who are in the priesthood and they're like, you're the only person talking about this stuff. Like, I can't even talk to other priests about it. I've tried, and they just don't understand what's happening. And don't worry, of course I'm not like, well, you should just leave. That's not what I'm about. I listen and I try to understand what they're saying, because nobody wants to just listen. They just want to say, like with me, oh, your problem is you're just a independent American. All Americans act the same. They just do what they want and they don't care about the consequences. And they just write me off like that. And I thought, like, are you listening to what I'm saying? Like, why would I be coming to you with my problems if... Anyway,
one of the only
enough
trans
about
people
me.
on the internet that actually makes a point to highlight these people so they know that they can come to me. And a very common thread is people transitioning or detransitioning for the sake of other people.
Oh, for other people. We're gonna... This is all connected. You know why? I was thinking for the longest time. I'm like, Francis, just stick to your story. Just talk about your own experiences. Don't go into other things. It's not your problem. It's not. But I realized, spot on. They can hear you, but they aren't listening, or they are listening but cannot hear. Take your pick. Right. Auspicion. But you know, when you live in a society, everything that happens within the society, maybe not every single individual instance of something, but these movements, these ideas, even if they don't affect me personally now, because I live in a society, it's affecting us all in a particular way. Does that mean that I have to go out and protest and do all? Well, maybe sometimes, but I have to understand what's happening. I have to understand these different movements, because maybe now I'm not coming face to face with it, but maybe in the future I will. And if I've never thought about it, especially if it's something, all of these ideas are big ideas that are affecting a lot of people. And I've in my life, I've come across maybe like 4 or 5 people. One of them had transitioned. The other ones were in the process or confused about it, and we started talking. And of course, I was my main task. I'm sorry if you can hear the dogs in the background. It's the neighbors' dogs. I've talked about them before. Yeah, you can definitely hear them. But you know, my main task in those conversations was to listen. But what's my idea about them? How am I going to talk to other people about it? I can just be a passive person that just listens, but that person can just talk to a wall if they want the same type of reaction, but they're talking to a human being. So there has to be a connection there. And I think with my experience when I was younger, obviously I can't use an anecdote for a personal anecdote to describe a certain thing, but I have definitely come across the transition process and detransition and figuring out yourself. And, you know, I've come across that, and it's good to have an idea of what's happening. It's good to have an opinion about things. Well aware of the fact that I'm not a professional. I'm not, I didn't have the complete experience, I guess you could say, but like, it's good for us to have an idea, have an opinion about certain things, certain topics. Right?
And I think this is a very clear difference between people who transition and are happy with it in the end and people who are not. If you are transitioning or detransitioning for anyone else in your life, whether it's a boyfriend, your family, your friends, your social group, that's a big one. Because you want someone to be attracted to you. Believe it or not, as crazy as that sounds, I have heard that a lot in email.
It's almost like what I was saying before. This is kind of off topic of what she's saying, but kind of on the same thing. If you've never even breached that subject in your head, like let's say you're a parent, and I imagine a lot of parents within my previous religious community, they pushed these ideas to the side: transgender, homosexual, lesbian, all these ideas. They're like, these are not viable options for me or for anybody around me. Nobody accepts them. But then you come face to face with, let's say you have a child who's like, it's a girl, and it's like, Mom, I like girls. And if you've never thought about it, or you've never gone into that topic even a little bit, like besides what you hear from the sermons and from the books and all of that, but if you never really absorb the idea and really put yourself into a situation like that in your head, then how are you going to relate to someone who comes up to you and talks to you? How are you going to do that? It's your child. You can't be a lesbian. So period, end of story. We're never talking about this again. How many kids, how many people have had that type of conversation? Oh, it must be something wrong medically, or it must be this, or it must be that, or, you know, I heard from the priest that this or that. But it's not a human conversation. It's not two people connecting. It's, I'm going to you, opening myself up to you, and you're just, you know, you're just a mouthpiece for whatever. And the same with the other way. Mom, I don't feel comfortable with who I am because maybe I like the same gender, or, you know, I just don't like my body and stuff. Oh, you must have gender dysphoria, and we have to go to the psychologist because, you know, you probably, you know, if you want to change into a boy, you know, that's fine. I'm not, you know, I really want to support you, you know, but it's like pushing. It's like, I was told on that morning talk show that if I want to be a good parent, this is the way I need to talk to my child when they come to me with these type of things, and I want to be a good parent, so this is how and it's like you're not having a human connection. It's just, I'm telling you what I'm supposed to tell you. But Blair's talking about from the side of the person who is transitioning, or the person even who is gay or whatever, like them deciding things based on the people around them. That happens. Society is powerful. Where we live, who we associate with. How many times have we seen friends who get in with the wrong friend group, but they're like, I'll never do that. I'll never drink and drive. I'll never do drugs. I'll never do this. I'll never. And then, you know, a few weeks later, they're doing the same thing that their friends are doing. Because when we live with people who have a certain set of behaviors, it's easier to pick up on those behaviors. That's why it's important to surround yourself with good people. And that's why I'm happy to be around you guys who come to the channel.
Emails. I transitioned to get a guy. I transitioned to get a girl. That is the wrong decision. And it's one of the things that I, for whatever reason, was able to pinpoint before I went on hormones and before I got any surgeries, was tell myself, I have to do this if I'm going to do this for myself. It cannot.
Yeah. All right. We'll just watch a few more.
There's nothing wrong with you, physically.
What I wish I could have told my younger self at 17 before medically transitioning to male at 21.
You've got the kind of looks that make other girls mentally ill.
Okay, so this person transitioned from female to male, back to female, and as you can see, there's still facial hair, and, you know, that to me is very, very sad.
Like I said, there's serious consequences to these decisions. And it shouldn't be like, well, duh, you just do this because that's the right thing. It's like, well, I would have needed more information before that.
So stop it. You don't need any plastic surgery. You're perfect.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness. Did you see that?
She was beautiful. And I'm not trying to be insensitive or imply that she can't get back to that state, but she was beautiful. Every time I watch one of these, I think like it hits me maybe in a different way.
Why is it, do you think, that there's these type of ideas that are so powerful that people take them up like arms, and it's almost like they bulldoze over everyone, even the people that supposedly they support? And like, why do we do that as human beings? Why do we do that? I mean, any big event that's happened, like even I remember studying about the French Revolution, and you know, just these ideas, they ended up in a horrible, bloody massacre. And you know, it just comes from these ideas that just infect people. It's like a virus. And you know, what is it about these ideas that almost possesses people? They become like, you know, it's almost like, you know, one show that I love is The Walking Dead. And one of the reasons why I love it, I want to do a video about it one day, but one of the things I love about it is it's not about the zombies. The zombies are just there. They're always there. They're on the periphery, and they come into play every once in a while, but they do exactly what zombies do. They search out something that's alive and they kill it. You know, it's just that's what they do. They don't change. They don't, you know, they don't get better. They don't get worse. They're just zombies. And it's like they have one principle in life, which is destroy life. That's it. And it's not a question of morality for them. It's not a question of am I destroying the life of a dog, a child, a woman, a pregnant woman, a man, a black man, a white man. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who it is. Who's alive. Who has that life. They just have that principle. They go and they destroy. And it seems like these people are almost possessed by these ideas. And they forget, or it overtakes their humanity and their rationality, and they are no longer acting as human. And does that make sense? I don't know. The analogy just came into my head. I don't know if that's the best analogy, but it seems, but you know, it's good because it gives, when we're dealing with these ideas, like the cast member of The Walking Dead, when we're dealing with these type of people who hold these ideas, it's almost like it's better to just avoid them. It's better to avoid them. You know they're there. You know they're coming. You might even hear them, you know, like coming, you know, walking towards you. But, you know, if you're awake and aware, you see them, you know they're there. Sometimes they surprise you. Like you go around a corner and you're like, oh, shoot. You know, so you can't avoid contact with them all the time. There has to be moments where you come into contact with them. But it's better to just like, okay, they're there. Let them do their thing. And I'm going to keep going with my life and live as a human being, a rational human being. I think it's mostly the manipulation. If you disagree, you're a horrible person. It makes people too scared to stop and think if they agree or not. It possesses them. They no longer maintain the capacity. It's almost like I said, it's a possession. It's like out of body. They don't, like, it's not a question of morality, even though they say it, but that's a part of the idea. Part of the ideas that they hold is that it's good. It's empathetic. I'm empathetic. I care. That's part of the idea. But, you know, they're just eating brains.
Than like someone who is watching this and is not trans or has never even thought about it. It's like just knowing everything that it took to get to this point in my transition and to be me, and like the idea of going back on that is so insane to me. It's like inconceivable. And so
that's what people think about me too, with like, you went through the whole seminary and then became a priest and now you're not. And it's difficult. It's difficult to kind of go back, but I'm not back the way. Well, it's kind of like a transition, detransition type of thing. Because I'm not the same as I was before, but I kind of had to go back in a certain way, but it's different and it was painful. That's interesting. Maybe that's another, it's good to make these connections in life and kind of see patterns. That's kind of how I see different topics, seeing patterns and trying to connect with things from my own perspective. It's a good way to empathize with other people. Like, I've never been trans. I never did that, no, but I kind of went through something that resembled that in a different way, not the same. I didn't go through the same thing, so I'm not going to say it was the same, but it's like I can relate to that type of movement, even if different.
shout out to her for, continuing on.
I recently detransitioned, probably like a month and a half ago, and I've been actively living detransitioned into a woman for like 2 days now. And just the search, looking for information for like.
This is difficult for me to, don't get caught up in ideological wars, because whenever it's like when you meet somebody that you disagree with in person, you realize like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of things that I connect with connect to with this person, and there's like this union of humanity, and you can be really empathetic in when you have physical contact with someone and talk to them and actually hear them, and it's so hard. Our lives are online. That's sorry to keep talking about different things, but it's alive. It's not a let's watch someone else's work type of video. But that's one reason why I'm so happy that I started at the tattoo studio, because I think I wasn't doing anything else except YouTube and social media stuff, and that was kind of giving structure to my life. And now I don't have to look at YouTube and all of that to give purpose to my days. I can do something else and not have to check my phone all day. I go 6 hours without checking my phone when I'm in the studio, because I'm doing other things and I'm living and stuff. Sad to hear how her voice was so affected. I know. So true. I always think if people see others, I know it's really important to just get over those barriers that are placed upon our interpersonal relationships. We don't have to be like that. We slip into these behaviors because that's all of these social media apparatuses, that's the way that they're created to be like this, to have these sets of behaviors. But we don't have to we can choose not to be like that. We can choose to be human and live and share in humanity. And think of how amazing it is if you change your perspective when you go online, and instead of like within the first 5 seconds of listening to someone's video or, you know, reading someone's post or anything like that, and like checking them off on, you know, the shit list, or saying like, I agree with this person, I don't agree with this person, you know, and then either continuing following, liking everything they do, or completely blocking them. You know, maybe if that wasn't your approach to going in, our approach, not just yours, mine too, of going into social media, if it was just like, I have at my fingertips all of these different experiences that I can use to learn and grow and maybe solidify my own opinions. Okay, that's what happens when you come into contact with other people, but maybe even challenge some ideas that I have and give me a more wider perspective to the world and to my own life. And if we had that type of approach, then social media is amazing, but that's not what it is. It's, you know, are you on my team or not? If you're not, go to hell. If you are, I'm going to give you my allegiance.
Videos, because I mean, when I figured just like, oh, well, maybe I detransition, I looked it up, and there's YouTube videos out there, and there's a lot of good content, but I couldn't find any of the answers or things that people were talking about, things that I wanted to know.
That is because a lot of the stuff gets shouted down so easily. And
if you don't have the right narrative, social media is not on your side.
And people are scared to like talk about it. So right off the bat, you know, my heart breaks just based on the voice. Voice is so important.
That if people, the reason why this is what, okay. If the ideas didn't have willing recipients, receptacles, brains that accepted them, then the ideas would die. Like, people are continuing on with these things, and like she was saying, people being scared to say things. Why are they scared? Why? Because it's like people are afraid of the backlash. But if more and more people choose not to be scared, or, you know, be scared, being scared is a emotion that we can't control. But if they just choose to do it anyway, and more people do that, then that will gain momentum and take control. You know, it's like, it's really interesting when you kind of take a step back and look at the inner workings of culture and society, and how things are perpetuated and changed and altered and stuff like that. It's really interesting. You have to be on their team about everything. Politically, I am mostly left, but people cut off contact with me because a handful of different views. I'd rather keep my integrity and say, yeah, that's, I understand, because people definitely write me off to be a certain way, and I don't care, you know, whatever. It hurts a little bit, you know, you read a comment and it hurts, but, you know, I move on, I keep living. But I'm done with changing my views because of somebody else. Because I want someone to like me, because because someone makes me feel guilty for not having a certain belief, because whatever, all of that. I'm done with that. I'm trying to be done. I'm sure I do that still, but on big items, big ideas, you know, I have my opinions, and I think it's good that we're just in the true sense, we're authentic, because who wants, I would feel deceived if I let's say with my boyfriend, if I found out that he took on an idea just to not cause conflict, like took on the similar idea that I had about something just to make me feel good, not to cause conflict. It's like, what? I would feel deceived, like I didn't really know him. That's not a way to build a stable relationship, a stable society. Because imagine all of the people who, the zombies, like they're all saying the same thing. It's like they're all mind controlled. They're all saying the same thing at the same time in the right tone and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and they meet someone else and they like, oh, you're saying the same thing I'm saying. And then and now we're together. But it's like, you don't really know the person to your right or your left. Like, you don't really know these people. You just know that they're doing the same thing you're doing, which is just saying what you're supposed to say. And in a society that's supposed to be so free and open and make us, individuals, and we can be what we want and dress how we want and love who we want. And it's like, that's all an illusion. That's all an illusion, because they still have a set of commandments that you have to follow.
I feel very bad.
That seems like oh shoot, get down, Blair. That would be a really interesting video. The 10 commandments of society, and then create 10 ideas and make comments about them. That'd be funny. The 10 secular commandments.
Their voice is permanently altered. When you go on testosterone and your voice goes deeper, it never comes back. That's why it's so, to me, toxic when you see people like go on hormones for a while, see how you like it. It's like, you don't go on a drug like that and see how you like it.
I can't imagine how difficult it is to weed through all of that. And if I was actually thinking about this seriously and I went to my doctor, I would want my doctor to really want the best for me and not be like looking over his shoulder, seeing if anyone's filming him as he's talking. Oh, someone's looking, I have to say the right thing. I would want my doctor, my psychologist, to really care about me and want the best for me. It seems like that's what they're supposed to do, but it would appear to me that each person has to really look out for themselves and try to figure out what's best for them, it's challenging because it's almost like for me, being in a religious community, trying to figure out what the best option is for me as a gay man, because no one was telling me anything. So I had to figure out, okay, like I have to push this down because, this is the only option that I see that's viable. Every other option it doesn't conform with the beliefs that I have. So I was trying to figure out things for myself, which in the end blew up and bit me in the butt. But I imagine it is for a lot of people. They have to listen to different opinions, and it's just, I can't imagine.
You're supposed to be absolutely sure. You're supposed to go through a rigorous check with therapists, with doctors, with people who have your best interests in mind, with people who are not activists.
I was never uncomfortable.
Everybody's an activist now, right?
Comfortable with my gender. I was uncomfortable with, I'd say, my relationships with other people, which it
goes back to the other people thing. That is always such a red flag.
I wonder if current trans is going to increasingly become the norm, or if things will ever become a bit more balanced. I think with all of I think now that the focus is being shifted away from the LGB part of the equation, I have a feeling that it won't become that it'll become more normal and like settled. It's almost like when you stir something and all the sediment comes up and it's just like all over the place and crazy, and then slowly it starts like settling down. I think that with all of this, I think with all of these types of politicized, thank you, Francis. Politicized types of movements, they kind of they explode and then they kind of just settle. I really hope, because people are, if you want to look at some crazy figures, go look at the statistics for self-harm amongst the trans community. It's unbelievable.
So glad we're seeing that sort of common thread, and we can just show you guys so clearly. That is the thing. It can't be about other people. So the idea that someone can say, and again, nothing but support for this person, but to say like, I transitioned, I wasn't uncomfortable with my gender. That's the whole reason you do it.
Yeah. If anyone watched my video, I'll put it in the chat if you want to look at it afterwards. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to try to do this, so we'll see what happens. But I talked about in Iran. Okay. Oh, no, we're not listening to me. How do I share? There we go. Embed. Oh no, not embed. I feel like a boomer trying to do this. All right, I'm going to. So this is the video. I just put it in the chat if anybody wants to watch it after the live stream. I'll pin it to the top. Man, look at me. I'm getting all fancy. Thank you for your patience, by the way. But in Iran, so in that country and in other ones, but what I'm speaking about particularly, the story that I read came out of Iran. But so being gay is a capital offense. You will be terminated by the law, and so how people get around that is they transition. The stories that I heard were about the men transitioning gay men into women so that they fit into the culture. And it's like, it blows my, that seems like, that seems like one of the, like, how do I don't even know how to verbalize my thoughts on it. Wait a second. It seems like one of the worst ways of, like one of the worst crimes against a human being is to force them to undergo a medical procedure like that, where it completely alters their body, because they do the complete alteration of body. It's not just, slapping on some breasts, it's a complete change, and it's like, it's so illogical too. It's like, oh, you have a problem. Okay, here we go. It's like, let's say there's a religion like Catholicism, but there's a religion that doesn't allow self pleasure. I think I can say that on live. So the way we're going to get around that is by chopping off your limbs, because after that you can't do that. It's like, we're not, you know, in an external sense, it's like, well, you're not doing it anymore, so you fit in. You fit in with the ideology around you. But, you know, what are you doing to that person? That was a horrible story. That's another thing you can look up. I think it was a New York Times article or BBC. I think the one that I read was from the BBC, but I think I read a different one in the past about that. Just Google Iran forced transition of gay men or something like that, and you'll find articles about it. But it's not popular because it's wrong to talk bad about different cultures, and it's ideas. We attack ideas.
It sounds complicated and it sounds completely random, but sort of all through growing up, I had the whole identity crisis thing that I've heard a lot of other people talk about in sort of the same kinds of videos, where at first I was like, well, I don't know what's going on.
So I feel bad, and I'm going to go look online, and oh, look, this person tells me that I have to do this in order to fix my issue. It must be this. I can see some sort of resemblance of what I'm going through and what, you know, all of these people with these ideas, these narratives, they don't realize that, you know, they're affecting people, real lives, and damaging the same people that they claim to help.
Thinking maybe I'm bisexual, and then I thought, I was like, okay, well, I'm not bisexual, maybe I'm gay. And then I was like, oh, well, I just don't like anybody, which not only am I antisocial, I was like, oh, well, then I found out what asexual was, and I was like, oh, well, that kind of explains me.
In a confusing time, trying to find some sort of explanation, and that's what, no, I don't want to get into the whole gender idea with like all the, you know, over 100 genders. It's like when I hear the differences between the genders, I think that just sounds like you're into something. Like you are who you are, and you are attracted to this type of thing, or the, you know, it's like that's what that sounds like to me. Like, I'm a man attracted to men. That doesn't mean my gender is gay. It means I'm a gay man. You know, like those type of things. It's like people just trying to find some solid ground to rest upon because no one's given them any sort of foundation to explain what's happening, to have them rest upon. They don't have the center, it's like they're out in the ocean and there's a storm going around, because we all have those moments where there's a storm in our lives, and you know, no one has shown them the lighthouse that's giving them a direction to go home and to find solid ground until the storm's over, and then they can go back out. No one's giving that to them. They're just saying, "Oh, that is who you are. You are the storm." That, you know, no, it just, one thing that religion taught me, I don't know anyone here has been on a retreat, Ignatian retreat, actually. That was the one we were, the type we were given. And one of the principles that I learned from those is you never make a big life decision when you're in the middle of a crisis. You never do that because you're not thinking correctly. And I think that's so true. I think that's so true. I mean, sometimes you have to make a decision because it's life or death. And then you can, when things calm down, you can assess your decision and see if that was the right decision or if you need to change that or whatever. But we should never make decisions in the middle of a crisis. I've even been told that I'm trans because I dislike socially being a woman, but that doesn't make me a man. I'm a woman. I just find the expectations of being a woman hard. I'm just a white guy. I can't say anything. Yeah, pink elephant. I agree. And it's difficult. It's so difficult to understand what's happening. Because when you, I said this all the time, when you're in a social situation and you fit in, you're following the rhythm of everyone else, everything's fine. But if something's off and no one's willing to meet you where you are, then that's where the problem is. Like, why do I always try to find analogies? I just find analogies like really helpful to try to understand these type of ideas and the crazy ideas that I have. But it's like you're marching with a group of people and everyone's keeping pace. Dun, dun, dun. And you know, everyone's in unison and everything's fine. There's no complication. You don't have to question what's happening. You're just going. You have support of the people around you. And then let's say, you know, your pace is a little off, a little slower, and then you slowly start falling behind. And it's like, in those moments, you feel like you're the one who's wrong, when maybe in reality, there's no wrong. Maybe just you're at a different pace, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you're wrong. That doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means it's different. Okay, remember this. Every analogy limps. That's a philosophical axiom, a principle. Every analogy is not perfect. So don't read into my analogies too. All of them are imperfect.
Me a little bit better. Aromantic, asexual too. I don't like.
That's another thing I've noticed as someone who has a lot of these stories in my email from people. Another common thread is people who tend to jump from label to label to label to label, searching for themselves.
You're in the storm. You're trying to find a reason. I must be this. Wait, this doesn't work. Then I must be this. And then the waves taking you up and down. And you're just, maybe you're going through the whole gender spectrum in one day. Like you just go through it all. Maybe that's not the level you need to be looking at. I just ended my sentence with a preposition. Do not hate me.
Oftentimes they're trying to heal something or search for something, search for answers. And if you have to go through that many things, sometimes that in itself is, again, a red flag.
I'm glad we have people. Like, I don't agree with Blair White on, I mean, whatever. I don't have to say that, you know, I shouldn't have to say that. I shouldn't have to say that. If someone speaks the truth about something, then it should just be that. It shouldn't be like, I don't associate with her, or I do associate with her, but not in everything. But why do I feel that I have to say that type of stuff? Like, why? No, I agree with her in this point. That should be enough. I'm showing her and I'm talking about it and I'm commenting. That should be enough. Why do I feel like I have to make all those disclaimers? Sorry. This is what lives are like. This is all that I edit out on my videos that I make on YouTube. My videos would be hours long.
I did take hormones. I took them for a little over a year. And I actually had my approval letter to get top surgery, and I was working on scheduling that, which is when I decided it wasn't what I wanted anymore. And it was a really scary time. I was scared.
Well, good for you. Imagine if you would have gone through
These are hard to... I look at these people and I see them and I hear them, and they're just people, just like you, just like me, trying to figure things out in this day and age with all the things that they're given by the society, just trying to understand what's happening. That's it. They have a mom, they have a dad, or they had, whatever, but they have families, they have friends, they have all the things that people forget when they see someone who has a different opinion. You know, we forget all of these things, and I feel sorry for these people. On social media, everyone assumes that you agree with everything someone says if you support one thing they say. Yep.
I remember like a while ago, there was a picture of someone on Twitter that went viral. It was like a young girl who like moved her breast. I think she was like 14 or 15. And it was a picture of her posing with her surgeon.
Oh my goodness. No.
And I remember there are people saying like, this is a mistake, like I feel bad for her. And then all the trans activists in the replies were saying, what do you mean? She can always get breast implants. It's like...
What do you think she's going to say? What do you think she's going to say? Actions have consequences. If a biological woman removes her breasts and then she decides to get implants and she has children in the future, that's going to prevent her from breastfeeding. It has consequences. Every decision. And you know what's good, this is a really good thing about being a human, that you can look at examples from other people and the decisions that they've made and really put yourself in their shoes and think, is that something that I want to do? Is that, like, who cares about the narrative, the ideologies, whatever, but like, is that something, looking at what happens, is that the type of thing that I would want to happen to me or my child?
Those aren't breasts, those are breast implants.
Scared I was gonna lose everything.
Or you could just say it like Blair just did and not talk for 5 minutes like I do. I need to learn.
Like my partner who I met identified as a gay man, so I was afraid that if I detransitioned, he wouldn't want to be with me anymore, which wasn't true. He's been my rock during all of that because that was such a hard time.
This content, I'm here for this type of content. I'm happy to be alive at this moment with this type of capability because the capacity to meet or to share these experiences is huge.
Testosterone's a really powerful hormone.
Testosterone is very powerful, and it's actually much more powerful than estrogen in many ways. And a lot of the effects from it are much more permanent than the effects of estrogen for male to female. People don't know that.
I passed as a man fairly well, and I navigated life as a man fairly well. So having to rediscover navigating life as a female and trying to...
And what is, that's difficult. That's difficult. Like you were saying, pink elephant, like, what does that even mean? Navigate. That's what it is. Navigate. Like I was saying on a boat. It's like being on a boat. Like you're on a boat in the ocean. Those are the only things. And the boat in theory floats and the wind pushes you. And like, there's some things that you can rest upon. But besides that, it's like, the stars are there that you can follow and all. Here I am with another dang analogy. But, all of these things, there's a lot of things that aren't solidified. Like you do have to navigate, you have to figure things out, you have to overcome obstacles and problem solve and understand things. But the good thing is, you know, what I've realized in my 33 years, hopefully it gets better and better each year, is that things do kind of settle down after a while. You know, I remember feeling when I was younger how, you know, you just have this idea of like you almost overextend yourself and you don't feel sure about things, and it just seems too big, too incomprehensible, life and choices and all of that, and then you realize, like, you know, it's not that intense. Things are not that intense. You know, just wait, just keep your pace, keep going, and you'll find your rhythm. You'll find it will come. Having a center is really important in life.
Look feminine again was super difficult, and it's still hard now. When your voice drops from taking testosterone, it doesn't go back. And that's something I really struggle with. I used to love singing, but the way testosterone affected my voice, I don't like how I sound when I sing anymore.
That sucks.
Socially, it's...
But it's not impossible. We make decisions, there's consequences, good and bad, but you just got to keep going. Keep going with what you got. Which is, it's hard to accept, but what's the other option?
such a hard thing to do because you already feel like you have to justify being trans to begin with. And then so when you change your mind, it feels like all that justifying you did was just lying or like not being genuine.
That's what I would assume is like a lot of the times we focus on like the permanent bodily changes and physical changes, but we don't talk about like how crazy it must be to socially transition and to get.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that earlier in this video, like the social aspects. That's difficult. Like I've had people come up to me, friends, best friends. I could show you the emails. There's multiple of people who were my closest friends when I was in religion, who after I left said, "You lied to me. You were a liar. You manipulated me. You made me think you were one way, but really you were just deceiving everyone." And for me, that is very, very difficult to come to terms with. I know the truth, and I mean, when someone calls you a liar, then you don't talk. You don't like, okay, I hear you, but like, what are you going to do? Start explaining yourself? Because then if they consider you a liar, no, it's like talking into the air. That was another bad analogy.
Get people on board and then to go back. Oh my God.
I transitioned because I had gender dysphoria from a young age. Okay, the question was, if I may, what was the main reason for detransitioning? So interesting. Be you, be happy, love the voice. I wasn't okay with myself and thought it would make me happy. But when my voice changed and I couldn't sing anymore, I was heartbroken. Plus, I had side effects from the testosterone. It's not a lie if you believe it. It's just being blinded to the truth. It's not a lie if you believe it. It's just being blinded to the truth. I understand what you mean. No, like for me, when I was in religion, it was because I believed. I mean, if anybody out there doesn't want to believe that, I don't care. I'm the one who has to live with myself. So why would I lie to myself? yeah, I was who I am. I gave up my life for religion. It wasn't just like, no, it's okay, Pink Elephant. I got what you're saying. But I gave my life 100% to religion. It wasn't just like, oh, on Sundays I go to church. You know, it was, I've decided to dedicate every minute of my waking life to religion. Which isn't like a common thing that happens with people. But I must be a mastermind deceiver. Ha 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 ha. I don't know. But I definitely, the second that I didn't believe, well, not the second, I kept trying to go because I thought it was just a test. When I stopped believing, I thought it was God giving me more suffering and something that I had to get through, like not feeling the faith anymore, just, you know, pure act of will or something. Anyway, when I realized like if I continued it would just be complete hypocrisy, that's when I left. But who cares about the truth? Oh, plus I had side effects of transitioning. I realized I was just conforming to a male gender stereotype.
That's a very good point. A lot of people get very caught up on stereotypes when it comes to transition.
This is what you were saying, Pink Elephant. Like, you know, acting in a certain way that's stereotypically associated with another gender. That is that. It's just that. Like a tomboy or something like that. Like, you know, that's what it is. That doesn't mean that you should transition. I felt that way when I was younger. I was like, you know, I relate way more with females, and especially I like men, but you know, even in a lot of other ways, like I would prefer to be that way. I didn't say this in the video, but there were moments where I wish I was like, my life would be so much easier if I was just born a girl. And I would fantasize about that. I don't know why I didn't put it in the video. I didn't think about it until, excuse me. Excuse me. I just thought about it now. But I remember thinking that, like, fantasizing, like, if I was just a girl, my life would be so much easier. I could just like boys, get married, and everything would be fine. And I wouldn't have any of this, you know, identity crisis happening.
And things
Yeah, I should have put that in the video. Oh well.
that because I'm a feminine male or because I'm a masculine girl, that means I have to transition. That's not what that means at all.
Instead of a female one, oh, the stereotype. Instead of a female stereotype, I still wasn't happy. So I thought maybe I'm non-binary for a while, but then through meditation and therapy, I realized, this is like edge of my seat. Like, what did you realize? Tell me. Okay, this pause. I'm not digging this pause. Just tell me. Being a woman isn't about femininity. It doesn't dictate how I live my life, my aesthetic, or whom I love. My dysphoria was hatred of my body due to internalized misogyny. Okay, so when you know, I can imagine certain people hearing words like internalized misogyny, and they automatically are like, nothing this person says is true. But this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity, my dear friends, to realize that because we live in a certain time, there's certain ideas that are taught to people. And so it's like in 1984 with George Orwell. You have to express things in the way that you were taught to speak. So instead of just like putting the blinders down and not accepting anything this person says is true, try to understand what's behind what they're saying. Yes, they're using these terms that maybe you have a definition that you don't agree with, but maybe this person's using it in a way that you actually can connect with. I'm still working on this, but I feel more free than I have my entire life.
I've seen that said a lot. That's another common one in a lot of female to male detransitioners who will say that they ended up transitioning because they felt uncomfortable with the way the world interacted with them as a woman, in the sense of they felt maybe vulnerable when it came to men, and they thought that they could remove that vulnerability and kind of balance out like a social structure by transitioning. And
well, that sounds like that's definitely, I can see that. I can see that. Like, I'm not, like when I hear internalized misogyny, I'm like, all right, can we just sit down and try to talk about these terms so that we're on the same page? Because if you're saying that in the way that I'm thinking that, we're probably not going to agree that that's a reason. Just saying. But then it's like what Blair just said. Oh, yeah. Yep, I can understand that. I can understand how a woman would not like the social structure that's around them. Even not social, just like human nature, like how things work. Like even if you want to go down to that level, they don't like being the weaker sex. They don't like, whatever the social structure is. They don't like being vulnerable. They don't like having to go down the street and, have to deal with men yelling talking to them, or having to check behind them that someone's not following them, or, they don't like these things. So the way that they solve that is by taking away what puts them in that position.
And that's another really sad sort of like pitfall as well. Overall, I think this is a topic that really needs to be handled with care. I don't take it lightly that I'm even talking about this stuff, because I know that as far as the internet goes, my channel is kind of one of the main places this topic has.
Yeah, I haven't really, detransitioners are coming out now online, but I first heard about it through her channel, Blair White. So this took a lot longer than I thought it would. Do you guys want me to talk about the next person, or do you think that's good for now? I was going to have a class at 7, so in 10 minutes, an English class, because I still teach English online. But my student contacted me and said that they could not make it tonight, so I have more time if you want me to keep going. I was going to talk about, so this is a trans man, so female to male, Sam Collins. I like to follow different opinions about things and see different perspectives and just take it in. Why not? Why? No one's here asking me what my opinion is. Why would I have to only look at the people that I happen to agree with? Like, what's the fun in that? We have the possibility of seeing different opinions. And like I said, more exposure, if you have the time, listening to different opinions, it actually helps clarify our own ideas, change our ideas if that happens, or solidify the ideas that we have, and it's okay. So, do you want me to use this video as an example of what I've seen from the other side and how they like. It's well, okay, this video, it's a commentary about a detransitioning article that Sam saw and read on Twitter, I think. Oh, Twitter. Oh, I love Twitter. But so he saw a video, and or he read an article and is kind of debunking from his perspectives the detransitioning article. Pink Elephant, I have watched a few of your videos and we disagree on a lot. As I said, I lean left, but I really enjoyed this conversation. Well, I appreciate you being here, and you know, I disagree with some of my closest friends on very fundamental things, you know, like it's a part of life. It's part of the human experience. And I think, you know, as long as they're honest, like those are my closest friends. Like I would prefer that than the other option of just people who, you know, just say the same thing I do, you know. But I think that's one reason why I talk about different things, because I know that people don't have the same opinion that I do on a lot of things, but I think I try to be reasonable enough and not be as, I don't know, like just being human about it, just being open about the ideas, and like I'm not forcing anyone to be here. I don't force my ideas on other people. If anyone makes comments, and I mean rational comments, like not there's this guy, all of my videos, he just says something in Latin, like like these like the proverbs in Latin, but it's like all these phrases from the Catholic, from whatever. And I thought, wouldn't that be funny to make a show or like a skit where like all these people are disagreeing and having like a very human conversation and like understanding each other and stuff. And then you just have one character in the circle. When it's his turn to talk, he just says something in Latin. Like, I thought that'd be hilarious. But if someone comes up to me and is like, I disagree with you on this, and this, it's like, I want to talk about it. I want to see your side. I want to see what you're saying and why you're saying it, and all of that, because I'm not a huge channel. Like I'm in a position to be able to come into contact with each person that watches the videos and makes a comment. Like I'm in that position, and I want to take advantage of it and stuff, because I've changed so much in my life that I don't know what tomorrow's going to be like, you know. I don't know what I'm going to think. I mean, as I said, things have solidified, but Dominus vobiscum. No, seriously, ready? I'll show you what. Let's see. Let me go to my. What did he say? Did he erase it? Oh no. No, I can't find it. I don't know. I can't find it. But anyway, it's like a criticism, but in Latin. Anyway, I don't know if I want to talk about Sam right now. Well, yeah, we'll start it. I'm just gonna run to the bathroom really quick. I think that's the main reason why I was like, "You guys want to watch it?" So I'm gonna go for a second. Let's not do that. I'll be back. We are back. Wow, people stayed. Awesome. All right, so be honest. Do you want me to keep going? Well, I guess if you're still here, you want me to keep going. But I mean, with the watching the video, or do you just want to chat about something else? I am completely open to suggestions. Completely. Can you hear the music? All right. One thing that I try, it's hard for me sometimes to, it's hard for me sometimes to not get, this is a personal issue, but sometimes it's hard for me not to get offended when I get into like a debate with someone. I've noticed that within myself. Like I get too like passionate, and like I've really had to check myself on that, because I don't want to be somebody that people, especially people in real life, because even though I'm online, I have some distance between me and the people that make comments. Like I don't have to respond right away. I can just turn it off and then come back to it when I'm in a clear head. But sometimes in person, I find myself like getting really like worked up. And, you know, I think that's an issue with a lot of people now in various degrees, that people take a disagreement on ideological level and they think that if the person is attacking my ideas, that means that they're attacking me and they're trying to delegitimize me as a person. And maybe they are, but it depends on how we take things. And that's something that social media really provokes and promotes, because that's where the most action is. That's where the drama is. That's where the excitement is. When you see two people going at it on Twitter, it's like, oh yeah, get the popcorn and start reading away. But that's not good. It's not good to be like that. It's a very miserable existence. Very, very miserable. And there's a lot of people that I follow online who do not agree with me, but I appreciate what they say, how they say it. I learn from them. There's a channel on YouTube that I like. Don't agree with her on a lot of things. It's another a trans woman. She contrapoints. Let me see if I can find ContraPoints. All right, so ContraPoints. And she makes videos, like, she does these like hour-long exposés, like total production, envy, J.K. Rowling, voting, justice, shame, incels, canceling, Jordan Peterson, gender critical, like, but the way that she talks about things, like, even though I don't agree with her, it's so entertaining and it's so interesting to watch the videos. Like, they're very, very well done, and it's not just like you go on Twitter and you see two people yelling at each other and they're like not really listening to each other and they're really not sharing their position in a very productive way. But it seems like ContraPoints, like, I can say after watching a video, like, it's clear that I don't know anything about that subject, or it's clear that I don't agree with her, or it's clear that I agree more with her than I thought I did. Like, the way that she talks about the different subjects, it's a very intellectual, rational expose, and I appreciate that so much. I really do. I tried to I think unknowingly, because that's kind of, I really like the dramatization and the, like, it's interesting to watch, because you don't want to make a video that's just like, boring. Sometimes the subject matter is a lot more clear cut, and you don't want to, it's serious where you don't want to like be too sarcastic. Like, I'm more sarcastic than I put in my videos. Like, I cut out a lot of stuff, but just because I'm like, oh, that's too much, or I don't want to take away from what I'm saying. I still want to add some humor into things, because I think that that's important. It kind of makes things a little bit more palatable. But the video that I did on politics, I kind of was going in that direction, like testing it out, kind of using ContraPoints as like not a model, but like inspiration, I guess you could say. And then afterwards, I'm like, all right, like, not a lot of people watch this, which, you know, whatever. But I don't think this is, you know, what's gonna hit people. They're not gonna really appreciate it, at least not yet. Before she deleted her old videos, she had one where she was pouring milk on herself in a bath, insinuating that the guy she was talking to wanted to because she was responding to someone homophobic. Oh my goodness. She had some rough periods. And that's one thing I do not like about the progressive movement, in the sense that, like, it's almost like that axiom, a revolution eats its own, where like you can be a member of it and feel like a part of this like dynamic the dynamic front that's changing things, that you can that's palatable, the change and everything, and it's really exciting. But like, you make a misstep, they're just gonna turn on you. Like, there's no room for humanity. Does that make sense? And ContraPoints, I've not recently, but the past year, I saw some of her videos about the drama she went through, and it was like, she was canceled for that? What? But that's what happens when you're a part of these movements, and it's not even a question of left or right. It's a question of like, what's the core principle that's uniting these people. And that's one thing I do have to say about, at least in theory, in a religious setting, that there is an idea of imperfection within humans. There's an idea of imperfection and forgiveness. Actually, it's interesting. In Euphoria, I don't know if anyone's been watching Euphoria. Why am I watching Euphoria? I don't know, but what you gonna do? It's on TV. No, I find it fascinating. But I think last week's episode, or the episode before that, someone made the line that, you know, I don't agree with religion, but one thing it has that no one else has is the idea of forgiveness. And it's like, yeah, that's true. That's so true. You make one step, you're canceled, you're done. Goodbye. You won't get a job anymore. I mean, some things it's like, we're not talking about like a simple cancellation. We're talking about like criminal activity. You know, that's different. But I'm talking about like not saying the right thing, or being misinterpreted, or here's one, being an idiot in your past and changing and maturing and becoming an adult, but because the internet saves everything, every video, every word that you've ever said, and it resurfaces, people condemn you now for something you did 20 years ago. Because the idea of imperfection is non-existent. It's non-existent. You have to be perfect now. It's harsher than religion. I didn't feel like I had to be perfect. I feel like I had to be pretty perfect, but not perfect. If I did something wrong, it was like, sorry, which I said a lot. But I mean, religion has its own issues. I'm not denying that. I'm not really putting them up against each other in that sense. Like, one is good, one is bad, but that is very interesting to see. It's interesting. And I think there's a lot of projection that happens. The people that criticize religion, but they're in their own, and in some ways harsher, ideological system, and they don't realize it. It's like, here I am with another analogy. Oh, but it's like you're in a prison cell and you're chained up, and then you take the chains off. Somehow, let's just go with it. Just go with it. But then you just walk into another cell and chain yourself up. And you're like, well, at least I'm not over there. Those idiots that are in that cell. And you're like just across the hall in another cell chained up. Anyway, ContraPoints is interesting. So again, I'm not criticizing Sam. I'm criticizing ideas and methodology and criticism. Because I'm not talking about left or right. I'm talking about different ideas, okay? Let's turn off this. Whoa. Do you hear that? It's silence. Wow. When was the last time you just had silence around you? Okay. Enough of the silence. I'm thinking too much. We have to distract ourselves with external stimuli. I really hope the ContraPoints can stay in a good headspace. I don't want to lose her. Funny how people can be all for supporting trans people and protecting them from self-harm until they do one thing. Isn't that funny? Do you hear my cat? Hi. Come on. Come on. Oh, come on. Okay. I was going to bring my cat up, but no, you're right. You're right. Your life matters if you say the right thing. If not, off with your head. All right, Sam.
Hey guys, what's up? My hair is really big, but you want to know what's bigger are the lies that I'm about to read you.
Okay. So we already know. Okay. It's very clear from the beginning what people's opinions are. It's good to be clear in the beginning. So now I know what to expect.
Right in front of your eyes. So I was scrolling on Twitter one day. This is my Twitter, by the way, if you want to follow me. And I saw this article about a girl who transitioned into...
Commentary. I spent a year as a trans man where doctors failed me at every turn. Okay. Someone's experience. I mean, you can't deny that.
A trans man, and then she detransitioned. In the beginning, this article was sad to me because detransitioning just sounds sad. But
okay, so both Blair and Sam were like, that's sad, right? I mean, Blair was a little bit clearer later on, so we'll see what Sam says, but it's a horrible thing for anyone to think about. Like a difficult transition.
what really bothered me are the things that are said in this article because I don't think that some of them are true. And she just has some really bad things to say about transitioning. So you can literally just listen to this video. You don't even have to look at my stupid face because it's just an article. So I'm going to be reading paragraphs and telling you why they're...
Okay, good. One thing that I've learned from having a debate or like an disagreement with someone is always look for what they say that's true. Obviously you want to see, what you don't agree with, but try to also look at what you agree with, because that will help balance your judgment of the overall expose that they give you. Because if we only focus on the negative, like that's setting us up for disaster. And it's also good. I mean, I don't want to think of it as manipulation, but it's also good to show people like, hey, I don't agree with you in this way, but man, when you said this, I was like, yes, I see that. I see that 100% and I understand that. Or even be aware of those, this takes honesty, but be aware of those moments where it was like, listen, you said this and I never thought of it that way before in my life. And thank you for saying that, because now I can see that now, and I can understand that now, because no one has ever told it to me that way. And I agree. It's important when you're talking to someone, even, hey, guess what? Even online, even on Twitter, even though you don't have enough characters to do it, make a thread, but you can be a good example. This is good for us in general, because I think we all try to be decent human beings, but it also is a good example for other people when you disagree with someone, not to be like, well, you're fat and stupid. You know, it's like, well, great. You're just acting like everyone else. Good. You're just perpetuating the stupidity. But to actually be like, listen, before I get into it with you, before I completely demolish you with my rational capacity. It's funny that I couldn't think of a word in that moment, but it's good to unite with the other person in certain ways, and not just bash them and be like, oh, this person's stupid.
They're stupid. So this article says,
Wait a second. Oh, can you even hear it? Oh, sorry, I turned down the volume a little bit.
and telling you why they're stupid. So this article starts off with this paragraph. I can't wrap my head around all that I've done to myself in the last 2 years, much less the help that some healthcare professionals have done to me. 2 years ago, I was a healthy, beautiful girl heading towards high school graduation. Before long, I turned into an overweight, pre-diabetic nightmare of a transgender man. So in that, I see a particular circumstance, a particular experience. I don't see anything against transition. I don't see anything against another transgender person. I don't see anything about, anything general in that. I hear the words of someone talking about their own personal experience. Oh, and by the way, Pink Elephant, I agree. I hope ContraPoint. I mean, it's hard to be online and to be that big, and then it's hard. That's why I'm glad I have a life outside of this, because it keeps things in perspective. But let's see what Sam says. All that I've done to myself in the last 2 years. Before long, I turned into an overweight, pre-diabetic nightmare of a transgender man. Okay, so first of all, I too am a pre-diabetic nightmare of a trans man.
Okay, so automatic, personal, taking it personally.
Think that taking testosterone makes you pre-diabetic or...
Okay, nothing about testosterone in general. Nothing was said about it in general.
And if it does, let me know if I'm wrong. I personally don't know anyone, and I know a lot of trans people. I don't know one guy who was a pre-diabetic because of testosterone.
Never said that.
From my earliest years, I was always different from the other girls. I wore boy clothes and I played with boy toys. I was a classic tomboy. So you were playing with boy toys and I was playing with Barbies. As I got older, I became romantically interested in other girls. In fact, with the exception of one guy I dated in high school, I exclusively dated girls. At the time, you wouldn't have been able to tell I was gay just from looking at me. I had long blonde hair, wore makeup, and carried myself rather femininely. But in my head, I knew I was gay, though I was more of a self-loathing gay. Yep, I can relate to that. Of a self-loathing gay. So internalized homophobia. And
maybe. Yeah, no. I don't want to get into it right now.
Actually, I think we all kind of start out with that. I started out with internalized transphobia because I didn't want to fucking admit that I was trans. That was...
Sorry for anyone who doesn't like cussy words.
fun. By the time I was 17.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that was my experience, that I hated that part of me, and I wanted it. If it was a tumor, I would have cut that thing out as soon as possible. By the time I was 17, my parents had long divorced, and I was living with my dad. That's when he found out I was dating girls. He promptly kicked me out of the house, saying it was his way or the highway. So we're not talking about somebody with a very good and stable family life. These are key things to understand somebody and their decisions, to take in all of this information and not just project yourself and your own experiences on somebody else. With little choice, I moved in with my mom. Soon after that, I cut my hair, a decision that grieved both my parents. But what happened next, which, you know, some people do things in spite, like just because the parents don't agree with things. That's another thing you have to look out for when you're reading these stories. This is key information to try to understand somebody and their perspective. But what happened next grieved them far more. At age 18, I started seeing a bunch of transgender men's success stories on Instagram. Oh boy. The trans men talked about how something had always felt off with them. And they said people couldn't tell they had been the opposite sex after their transition. Okay. So the first thing I think here is when you're in, like I said before, when you're in the storm in the middle of the sea, you look for something that can that can save you. And you look for anything. And the more something, a solution reflects what you are going through, the more you're going to latch on to the idea that maybe that's the solution. I mean, oh, he's right here. I don't think you can see him. Wait, let me go to this. Maybe you can see him. There he is. Hi, Aslan. And this person's not coming from a very stable situation, and maybe wasn't given tools in order to understand themselves, understand what was happening around them. Maybe it just doesn't seem very stable in general. Like it at least isn't a conducive sorry. Oh, okay. It isn't a very conducive environment for stability. That's all I'll say. And then you see all of this, and then you see success stories, and we know that social media is just full of happy people and success and wealth and bountiful everything, and you know there's no bad. Like even the mental health issues are glorified, and people are praised for, you know, even the bad things, and everything is just so perfect on Instagram, and that's not real life. At least you have to be aware of reality. Like I didn't grow up with internet. I didn't grow up with internet. I mean, basically I did, but not really. I mean, I was through a lot of my life, I wasn't interacting a lot on social media and stuff because of religion, because I was praying for all y'all's souls. But like as the age I am now, looking at things, like I'm able to like kind of see through the facade and not really take things at face value. Like I remember how people were saying like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the Kardashians edit their photos so much. It's like, really? Really? You think bodies are that perfect? People do. And they commit self-harm because they think that they should be a certain way because they see it on social media.
Transition. Their stories all seem to have a happy ending, and it made me rather jealous.
Okay.
Hey, so this right here sounds like a you problem.
I'm sorry. Is he saying you like me, or the person writing about their own personal experiences and how they were trying to figure things out and not making any general comment about other people, but only about their own story? Is that what Sam's talking about?
Not the transgender man of Instagram's problem. Just because you were
Ah. Did they blame the people? I don't think that anything was in reading between the lines even. I didn't get that. Someone saw something that they wanted and they felt jealous. They didn't say that person should be terminated.
envious of other people being happy doesn't mean what they're doing will also make you happy.
Thank you. That's maybe this person writing the article fell down that trap, and now they're writing an article because they don't want other people to make the same type of decision that they made.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? No? Awesome. Here I was getting frowned upon for holding
Maybe
hands with my
pink
girlfriend in public.
Maybe pink elephant. Here I was getting frowned upon for holding hands with my girlfriend in public, feeling like I'm constantly being judged by everyone, while transgenders could date their same-sex significant other while looking like the opposite sex. I resented that and began to envy the transgenders. I looked into it for myself. Wow. That is horrible. A horrible feeling to have before the transition, but also a horrible reason to transition. Holy cow, this is not something that people are told. That they're not told about this type of story. These types of stories are not as public, or if they're public, they're instantly beat down by commentators.
Feeling like I'm constantly being judged by everyone, while transgenders...
And do you remember what it's like to be a kid? Anybody out there? Remember how big and significant all of these things were in our lives? Like, now I can kind of put things in its proper place and not really exaggerate things. And, you know, it's like, it's a lot easier to prioritize different situations. But when you're a kid, like, these are the most, like, it's life or death. It's life or death. There's no option. So
could date their same-sex significant other while looking like the opposite sex. I resented gay. I mean, a lot of gay people just can't hold hands in public because people are fucking awful. So that is sad. I tried my best to find books that discuss the issue. I tried my best to find books that discuss the issue critically and offered opposing views. Okay, here we go. But all I found were pro-transgender authors. Okay, this is this person's experience where they looked. Maybe the opposing views are out there, but they didn't find them. Or maybe there was something in them that was avoiding those other ones, even if they say it here. You know, who knows? This is someone's words, but maybe they have an ideological bend to what they're saying too. Maybe. That left me with the obvious conclusion: if all the experts were in favor of transition, why not do it? Transition, why not do it? I feel like I'm doing an English assignment, like I'm correcting an essay because it's not right. The books that exist about being transgender are usually by transgender people because they have success stories and they're sharing them so other trans people can read them, or people who just are interested in it can read them.
Okay, so what is he doing back there? He's like putting his legs. So he's admitting that that people are promoting the good stories, the success stories.
I don't think the store would sell a book that's like, fuck the transgenders, I hate them.
Well, they can't. they're immediately, well, first of all, like, who would read a book like that? Like, anybody, even people that were against the idea. But listen to what he's saying and how he's saying it. It's either the success stories, but the opposing view is, I hate transgender people. Like, for him, that's the opposing view. And it's like, there's so much more nuance. Don't hate Sam. Please don't hate anyone. It's just how people are formed to think. And this is how people think. And this is how people approach topics. They take things personally. They everything that someone says, they immediately relate it to themselves and internalize it and think that it's a personal attack against them, even if the person never mentions them, or if it's not even, it's just a personal experience. It's taken very personally, and ideas are not attacked. It's people, and it's how they're wired to think, because we are wired by he's putting his paw on my back. It's how we're trained to think in school. You know, we're not born with like perfect rationalized I'm still rational. We're not, we have to be trained to know how to think, if that makes sense. So this is how people think. Good to know. Don't worry, I'm not going to watch all of it, but I think it's important to see how to see not only what he's saying, Sam's saying, but also what the person writing the article is saying.
Yeah, I don't think
from my perspective. I mean, you can have a different perspective, but
that would be on the shelves, because if it was, then there would be a whole thing. Oh, actually,
and that thing is cancellation. But that person should be, I don't like the word cancellation, but there shouldn't be a book attacking people like that. That's dumb.
Actually, there is a book about that. It's right here. It's written by Sam Collins. I didn't write that. I don't know where that came from. I didn't write that. Every passing day, I saw myself as an awful dyke, this unnatural lesbian. I hated that image and would much rather have been a guy dating girls. So I Googled how to make the transition to male. The first step was to find a therapist who would write me a letter to start me on male hormones. Because guess what? If you want something, there's some doctor out there that will give it to you. Not all of them are like that. They do take case by case and try to do what's best. But there are people, I mean, come on, let's be reasonable. It's just like, you know, in religion, like the priests are supposed to be chaste and not commit any sort of sexual acts. And if you look at individual cases, oh shoot, you can't even see the screen. Why didn't you say anything, people? I'm sorry. I'm the worst at this live thing. I'm like looking at the screen myself, enjoying the oh my goodness. Okay. Better late than never. Yeah, I saw myself as this.
Okay, we saw this. Okay.
A letter to start me on male hormone. I soon found a therapist who said she would help me, and I told her I wanted to start the hormones on my 19th birthday, which was only 5 weeks off. She required only a 1-hour appointment each week. That's hardly enough time to get to know someone, yet those 5 hours got me an official letter that unlocked the doors for me to get
hormone therapy and become a man. It also helped me change my sex on my driver's license from female to male.
Who said she would help me, and I told her I want therapy and become a man. Now that just sounds like an idiot therapist. I saw my therapist for a year before I actually started doing things.
It does sound like an idiot therapist. Yep, it does. But this person is saying that's what happened. So, like, what are we just to assume that everyone is perfectly honest and just and really cares and does the right thing? And I mean, I think I've lived long enough to realize that that's not what happens, especially when you have people overhead. Like, if you're known as a doctor, like, imagine in this environment being known as the doctor that's more selective with allowing people to start hormone therapy, and then word gets out from all your patients who leave and are like, she didn't let me or he didn't let me get hormone therapy, and then it blows up online because these things happen. And these stories are like kindling to the fires, and you don't want to do that, you know? And not everybody is strong enough to resist that type of pressure, right? I mean, doesn't that just seem reasonable? I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying maybe this one instance, you know, come on, take somebody at their word. Why not?
To fully transition. And
because I'm taking the word of the person who wrote the article, but I'm also taking the word of Sam, who's saying that his doctor was more thorough. So the same way that he's rejecting what this person said in the article, I can use that to reject what Sam's saying. Like, what?
also, I knew that I was like trans when I was 8 or younger, so I waited.
Like, and I can just debunk everything, be like, well, you know, you came from a broken family and you were confused and blah, blah, you know, like, no, you got to take people at their word unless you're given proof that you shouldn't believe them. I don't know. That's how I see things.
Waited like a pretty long time. I would say about 10 years. So I don't understand why she wanted to start hormones super quick. Not something that you dive right into. I now see a huge...
Maybe it's the sarcasm that's kind of like rubbing me off. Sorry about that. Rubbing me the wrong way. Oh, I think I've been on here for too long. I now see a huge problem with how easy this was. If the therapist had gone slower and been more careful, she would have seen that I wasn't actually trans. But by the time I'd seen the promotional videos, I was convinced that my gender... I was convinced that my gender is what was off, and the therapist guided me along to make me feel like a sex change is what I needed. Okay.
Huge problem with how easy this was.
Horrible.
You're a hot girl.
But by this point, my friends were also encouraging me to transition. You're a hot girl, they said. You'll be a hot guy too. Others were too afraid to say anything against it because, after all, it was 2017. I never got pushback from anyone. Is anyone not convinced that it's possible in this climate and how we hear the subject that this type of scenario isn't possible? I mean, there's people out there with your exact same name, you know, like, you realize that, like, there's things out there that I don't know what I was about to say. I was distracted. There's coincidences. No, there's situations out there that are possible. And this is something that's possible. The question is it common? That would be more interesting. Is it possible? Yeah, of course. Is it common? Okay, now we can talk about maybe this is an issue. That's something to look into. But yeah, she's just talking about her own experience.
Girl, they said, you'll be a hot guy too.
So far.
We're too afraid to say anything against it because, after all, it was 2017. I never got pushback from anyone. So I was just thinking, why didn't she think this before? Why don't you
have 20/20 vision of things? Wait, hindsight. what's the saying? Hindsight is 2020. Why not
Think, like,
before making a decision?
getting on testosterone, growing a beard, having just a lot of hair everywhere, and
Well, she was expressing that she wanted to transition, and that's what she wanted. That's what she thought she wanted. So, and she said she was encouraged. So,
a deep voice. That is something that I've always wanted. I'm really shocked that the other people around her had so much impact on who she thought she was.
and we heard from the video with Blair White that people do transition for others and because of others and because they think that it's right. I mean, we're social. We are social. We are influenced by our surroundings. It's not a crazy concept.
Of course, if you tell your friends like, "Hey, I want to do this thing," and it's like seems like a good thing, they'll be like, "Yeah, do it."
I'll admit I've been in the situation of having someone in my family who transitioned. We weren't close, and yes, I avoided discouraging them. It's more acceptable to say nothing. I hope it was right. Listen. I'll give you what I would do. If the person, like, imagine that person was deciding to become a doctor, and you know that the person, you don't really know anything about the person. Why would you discourage them from becoming a doctor? Like, what that's not your place. That's not your position in the relationship to do that. Like, imagine that person who's like, "Are you sure?" It's like, "I'm telling you." Like, why? Who are you? Imagine a parent and their child, and the child wants to transition. Now, that parent has a lot of influence on the person, and sometimes, go figure, younger, not fully developed brains have sometimes not the capacity to see all the angles of things. And because you're the parent, because you have such a connection with that person, then you're in a position to test the water, help them maybe see different options. I mean, if they're under 18, then, I mean, you have a lot more influence. But even when they're older, to kind of just not discourage, but open up the conversation. And I think that in that type of position, yeah, I would say something as a parent. If it was my best friend, I wouldn't discourage, but I would have a conversation. Like, not an attack. Like, that's not productive in any situation, but like, cause why attack? Even if I don't agree, but open the conversation, because maybe no one else is having a conversation with them and really listening to them. That's good. I think that's really good. Maybe with your cousin. Is it your cousin? What did you say? Just someone in your family. If you're in a position to give space to a conversation, maybe that would be a good thing. Maybe make sure that they know that they can come to you and talk. And it's not, like I said, it's not a question of, I want to deter this person from doing something, or I want them to do it. It's not a question of that. It's just giving someone the opportunity to express themselves without the pressure of saying something right or saying something wrong, or doing this or doing that, or, being like, "Oh, everything's fine, I'm perfect." Nothing artificial, but just like, "Hey, if ever you want to hang out and talk about everything that's going on, I'm sure that this is a really difficult time for you. And sometimes it's good to just let it out, and, with no pressure. It's hard to talk to the parents. It's hard to, but we can just hang out, no pressure, get some milkshakes." Like, that might be a good opportunity. But But I don't know the situation. I don't know anything like that. Yeah, I think I regret not opening up the conversation. He has adults in his life who I know did, though. Good. But again, it's not our responsibility to get involved in other people's lives. I have cousins that are going in a horrible direction, and I see them like underage, going to clubs, drinking, drugs, sleeping around, and I look at them and I see their parents, and they did the same things when they were young, but they're supposed to be in an environment that's, whatever. And it's just like, it's not my responsibility. I don't have a real relationship with this person. If I did, that would be a different story. But I can't involve myself in everyone's situation, even if they're family. But yeah, it's not our responsibility to always do that. But if we're the type of person that everyone knows is open and easy to talk to and non-judgmental, that's really important, because we don't know who in the future. Like, imagine if the cousin one day came to you and said, hey, I made the wrong decision and I want to detransition, but I'm so scared because everyone around me was so encouraging and I'm afraid of letting them down and I don't know what to do with myself. And they come to you just because they knew that you were non-judgmental type of thing, and you had built up a relationship before, like that. It's important for that too. So even if someone makes a decision that maybe you don't agree with, to still leave the door open to any future interaction. Never burn bridges unless it's, for the benefit of like yourself and the other person, that you don't have contact with them. Like if they make really serious decisions, life decisions, you know what I mean? It's difficult to know, though. It's difficult to know what to do. And I think we can't be too hard on ourselves, because we're all just trying to figure things out and figure out what the best course of action is. It can be challenging. Yeah.
It's also not their place to say, that's not how you feel at all, so don't do that. So the next section of this article is long, and I'm just going to sum it up. So she ended up going to another shitty doctor who actually prescribed her the testosterone and let her begin the...
All right, I think that's enough. I'm starting to lose focus. If you want to watch the video, it's called "I Regret Transitioning and So Will You." In quotes. So it's taken from that article. I think he even puts the article maybe in the description. Let's see. Nope. Okay. But it's in there if you want to find the article. But anyway, I hope this was good, this conversation. And I appreciate the people who were able to come, and the people who talked during the live stream. It helps me a lot to interact. So I'm not just blabbering to a screen. But anyway, I'm planning on a video this weekend. If anyone has any suggestions for future videos or topics you want me to cover on the live streams, or just in general, I am open to suggestions always. But I will be coming out with a video. It'll be a commentary video like I've done before with like Midnight Mass, the Netflix series, and Euphoria, and Unorthodox, like those type of videos. I'll be doing another commentary or reaction or whatever type of video like that this weekend. So keep an eye out, and I'll be back next Wednesday for another live. Maybe pop on by surprise one day, but I'll try to keep to a schedule. But I appreciate everyone for coming, and please like the video if you liked it. No pressure. And if you think that maybe these videos that I make would be interesting for other people, feel free to share any videos on your social medias to help me out. But no pressure. I'm just happy you're here. And I'll see you next time. Everybody have a wonderful rest of the week. Hump Day, and happy beginning of Lent. Ash Wednesday today. And no, I didn't get my ashes. So, say goodbye, Aslan. Aslan? Goodbye. Oh, he was asleep. All right.